everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, this is the long-awaited review of the new Pat McGrath Mothership VI Midnight Sun palette. Holy smokes, I just about dropped it. That would have not been fun. This is what the palette looks like. It's really, really pretty. As we know, Pat McGrath Mothership palettes are extremely heavy, and you know, the packaging is pretty spectacular on a palette like this. Now, full disclosure, before I get into this review, I'm not a collector of Pat McGrath. In fact, the only Pat McGrath palettes that I have in my collection, I have the Mothership V palette, which I really, really do like that palette. I also have the Bronze Ambition palette, which personally, that's my favorite palette. I love that palette. That is my top favorite fall palette. I did have the Sublime Bronze Temptation eyeshadow palette, but I didn't use that palette enough to keep it, so I actually gave it to a friend of mine who absolutely loves it. We'll be comparing it to the Bronze Ambition palette and the Mothership V palette and a few other palettes that I have in my collection. Now, in this video, I do 5 different looks, and the reason why I do 5 different looks is because this palette is very expensive. This palette retails for a whopping $125. Now, first of all, I am never going to come on here and tell you, you guys need a $125 palette. That is completely up to you. I've never bought Pat McGrath until I started my channels. Normally, I'm just never a fan of paying that much for palettes. So I'm not gonna come on here and tell you that you guys need this palette. I will give you guys my final thoughts if this is a palette that you're interested in. And I decided to do 5 different looks so that I could play with all the shadows. And for those of you that have bought the palette, maybe we'll give you a little bit of inspiration when you're using your own. Because when you're paying $125, you're gonna wanna create several different looks with it. So that's the reason why I decided to do 5 different looks, but this video is not going to be here telling you guys that you need a $125 palette, because I think that's going to be subjective, and that is going to be completely your decision. Now, you can purchase this on the Pat McGrath website, and they have a payment plan. They are affiliated with Affirm. That's how I bought my palette, because it's just a little bit easier on the wallet to buy it that way. So the Affirm allows you to pay payments that are interest-free, but you can get the palette right away. It is currently available on the Pat McGrath website, but tomorrow it will be available at Sephora online and in stores. So if this is something that you're thinking about getting, but you just don't know if you want to spend the money, I would wait until this is in your local Sephora and go in, look at it, swatch it, kind of feel it, see if it's kind of really what you're looking for, because it is a very, very expensive palette. And you guys really need to know that this is something that you really want in order to justify the price. KINKY Sweat is another creator here on YouTube. She created a full video comparing all of the shades to all of her Pat McGrath palettes that she has, and she's a collector. So I thought it was really helpful. If you guys are a collector and you're wanting to see if this palette is going to be the same as some of the other palettes that you have, I will link her video in the description box down below and a timestamp where she does the actual swatches of this palette compared to her other Pat McGrath palette. So we're going to go ahead and jump straight into the 5 tutorials that I created for you guys, and then I will come back, do some swatches, and then I will give you guys my full final thoughts at the end. So without further ado, let's jump right into the first look. Okay, let's get started on the first look. Now, you guys know I normally never put this much powder underneath my eyes. In fact, I never put powder underneath my eyes. But I don't want to have a glittery mess all over my face. I've packed the powder on, and it feels really dry and really weird, and I don't really like that, but we're going to get started. So I'm going to first go into the shade Taboo. I'm using my concealer as my eyeshadow base, and I set it with a little bit of powder, and that blends like a dream. You pay that much for a palette, you would hope it blends, you know what I mean? I'm gonna put a little bit more here. I'm gonna bring that into this inner corner as well. Kind of just packing this shadow on, just trying to get this to kind of be the nice transition shade. But look how much dimension I got just in that shade. Like, when you keep packing this, it will get darker. Next up, I'm gonna take a smaller rounded brush. I'm gonna go into the shade Vermilion Venom, and I'm going to kind of buff that into the inner part of the crease. Like, I don't wanna bring that up higher. I'm just applying that over top of that shade just to kind of bring that richness. Look at that, oh my gosh. Her shadows, man. Man, oh man, those are pretty. Now I'm just taking a clean brush that doesn't have anything on it, and I'm gonna kind of buff that shade in to that color, just so that I don't have any like harsh lines. I'm just gonna kind of keep blending. Her shadows are very pigmented. It took me a while. When I first started playing, I'm gonna go back into Taboo. When I first started introducing myself to Pat McGrath, you know, I struggled when I first started using her palettes because they were so pigmented that I wasn't used to the pigment and I struggled with it. I want to go in with the green. Like I do, for some reason, the green stands out to me the most. I know that everybody's like living for the periwinkle, and don't get me wrong, as you know, I love me a periwinkle. Periwinkle is one of my favorite colors. As far as like when I do a colorful look, I love periwinkle, but the green is calling. It's like speaking to me on a level of yumminess, and I'm just gonna put this all over the lid. Oh my gosh, like I love this olive green. It's so pretty. Why is it so pretty? I can tell by the texture of this one, a finger is going to be the best bet. It kind of has that texture where you're really gonna want to pack it on with a finger and then maybe kind of buff out the edges with your brush. Okay, taking a small pencil brush, I'm gonna go into that green and I'm gonna kind of fill in to the crease, just because it's kind of hard to get in there with your finger. And then I'm gonna wipe the brush off and I'm gonna go back into that Vermilion Venom. Going back into the green, just because I want the green to kind of be darker here on this outer corner. I think I'm gonna go into that Vermilion Venom and put this on the inner corner. Kind of blend that into that green. Then I'm gonna take my finger and go into the shade Bronze Eclipse, and it's this really pretty bronze shimmer. I'm gonna pop that right there on the middle, just so that it kind of pops. Oh my gosh, that shade over that green. Oh, so pretty. Okay, I'm gonna take my pencil brush. I'm gonna go into Taboo, obviously, and I'm gonna put that on my lower lash line right here. Kind of buff that in really good. I want a tight line right up on my lower lash line, so I'm going to take that Vermilion Venom and really kind of pack that onto the lash line, just to give the lash line that depth. I'm going to take my pencil brush and I'm going to go into the shade Bronze Eclipse, and I'm going to put that right here on the middle of my lower lash line, just to add a little bit of that factor to it. It's pretty, you guys. That shade is stunning. Okay. Let's move on to this eye. So for this eye, I want to do something a little bit more matte-like more matte with a tiny bit of shimmer. I'm gonna first grab the shade Taboo and start kind of placing this in the crease, just like we did on the other side. As you can see, it's very pigmented, but also such a soft matte that it blends so easily, and it's really nice. Okay, I'm gonna go in one more time and kind of build that up and just blend, blend, blend. I can really build that shade and then blend it out, but I can build such dimension with that shade. It's fantastic. I'm gonna pack that here on this outer corner. But I think I'm gonna put that shade all over my lid. Take this brush, the Builder Pro from Sonia G. I'm going to go into the shade Extreme Dusk, and I'm going to kind of carve out the crease with that shade using the tip of the brush. I don't know, I'm just kind of winging it, you guys. I always wing everything. Okay, then now that I kind of have it carved out, I'm gonna take a clean brush that's a smaller rounded brush and kind of just go in and buff that into the crease. Right here on the outer corner as well. That shade is pigmented, like crazy pigmented. So, you know, if you're only wanting a little bit of that color, be careful because she's pigmented. You know what I also like about her mattes is they almost have a shine to them. So as you're blending them, they kind of become a shine. And it's about the only matte shades that I have in my collection that have that shine to them. And a lot of mattes are kind of dusty. Her mattes, as you keep blending them, they become very like rich looking, and instead of like dusty matte, you know what I mean? Like that's what I love about her mattes. Now I'm gonna go into the shade Taboo and go right over top of the dark and really blend that dark in and add that depth back to that dark. So to get rid of the line, I'm going to dip into Taboo and I'm going to dip into Extreme Dusk. Both shades, and I'm just going to kind of do this like zigzag motion up that line to break it up. If you're ever doing a matte eye and you're having a problem with a line, dip into the two shadows that you've used, the light and the dark, and just do like a zigzag motion. It'll break it right up. I'm going to go into my pencil brush. I'm going to go into the shade Taboo and just start building that up here on this lower lash line. And I really want this to be blown out. Go in a few times and really build up the dimension. Okay, now I'm gonna take my flat tip brush. I'm gonna go into the shade Extreme Dusk and tight line right on my lash line. The shade's hella pigmented, so be careful. I'm gonna go into the shade Astral Solstice. Solstice? I don't know. And I'm doing it wet or dry first, and I'm just gonna place that in the inner corner. Okay, so that doesn't give us much pigment. It's more of like a glitter topper. So because it's more of like a glitter, I'm gonna go into the shade Skin Show Moon Glow, and I'm gonna pop that right here. I love a matte bold eye with a gorgeous pop of shimmer right in the inner corner. Like, it's stunning. Okay, I'm gonna take a flat tipped brush. I'm gonna go into that shade, Skin Show Moon Glow, and I'm gonna pop that right up here on the brow bone. Okay, so this is the final look for both eyes, and for my lip, I just took my KKW Beauty lip liner. Well, actually, it's an eyeliner. It's in the shade Copper, but it's my new favorite lip liner. But anyway, I put this shade on, and then I just took a tiny bit of like lip gloss, just like a little bit, and kind of blended it in just to kind of give it a little bit of like, you know, glossiness. Anyway, let's get to the eyes. I love the way both of these eyes turned out. Love. I love this beautiful olive green on the eye. It is absolutely beautiful. There's so much depth in this eye look, and I am obsessed. Oh my gosh. Now for the eyelashes, I'm just wearing the Iconic Lights from House of Lashes. They are my favorite. I haven't worn lashes in a really long time. So that's it for the first and second tutorial. I'm gonna go ahead and wash off my eyes, and I will see you guys in the third look. Okay, I'm back. Everything is cleaned off. My brows are looking a little haggard. My makeup is looking a little haggard, but hey, that's just what happens when you're wiping off and putting back on and wiping off and putting back on. I mean, it is what it is. Okay, I want to use the Periwinkle shade in this look, so let's just see how it applies with a brush. So I'm just gonna go in dry. So I've got it packed here, and let's go ahead and go over top. Okay, so see, that shade doesn't really want to apply with a brush that's dry, okay? So just know that it is a very sheer shadow. Now let's go in with a finger. Bam, okay? Now we're getting somewhere. I'm gonna try my felt tip applicator. I'm gonna dampen it like I normally do. You can get these applicators anywhere. You can get them at CVS, Amazon. This is actually an applicator. This brush I got from Too Faced about 2 years ago during the holidays. They had a promotion. Can't get this, but you can get felt tip applicators anywhere. The one from Huda Beauty is really good. It's a little bit more expensive. I like applying them when I want a little bit more precision. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use my felt tip applicator to apply this. And I think I'm gonna put this all over my lid. I want it to kind of spray into my crease. So I will apply something in my crease to kind of spray over top of it. But I love me a periwinkle shade. Like, this shade is gorgeous. And it's actually applying really good with the felt tip. You see how good that is? That's one reason why I like a felt tip more than a brush, because I get the precision like you do with a brush, because you know how it is with a finger, you don't get the precision. And if you wear nails, you're definitely not going to get the precision. I know that it's old school, and I know a lot of people never use felt tip applicators. In fact, I don't know that I have really seen anybody really using a felt tip applicator. But I'm going to tell you right now, it is fantastic. I get the same effect as applying with a finger, but I get the precision that I get from a brush. Now I'm going to take my brush like this. I'm going to go into Taboo, and I'm going to kind of work this into the crease a little bit. I don't need that shade too dark, just because I'm going to spray that purple over top of it. This is just a stiffer brush, so any brush that's stiff like this will work. Even like the ABH brush that we have, you know, that always comes in their palettes, the stiffer end of the brush would work for what I'm doing. So I'm going to go into that purple shade, which by the way is called Blitz Violet Orchid. And I'm actually going to wet it down just a little bit, just so that I can kind of have control over it. And I'm just going to kind of start doing this with it, where I'm kind of pulling the shadow up into the crease. Now, if you wanted this to be a lighter look, as far as like on the crease, you wouldn't have to go in with a transition. So let's just say that you love that purple, but you want it to just be a lighter purple, or like you don't want the crease to be as dark as this is gonna go, then I wouldn't put that Taboo in the crease. You could just bring the purple up into the crease without anything underneath it, and it would totally be fine. So the shade right next to the purple, Astral Solstice, I want to take that all over this purple and kind of really amp it up a little bit. And I'm going to spray it, and I'm going to go over, oh my gosh, that shade. Woo, look at that. It's like a full-blown disco ball. Yes. Look at that glitter, you guys. It is gorgeous. But the thing that I like about it is it's not like overly glittery. So it's glittery, but it's not like chunky glittery. It's very, very smooth. I don't know how she got the formula so smooth, because most of the time when you have a glitter shade like that, it is just so chunky. And even though it's really pretty, it's really chunky to work with. So I'm just kind of taking whatever's left over on the brush and I'm bringing it up into the crease. So I'm going to first go in with a tiny bit of Taboo on the lower lash line. I'm going to grab my felt tip applicator. I'm going to go into Violet Orchid. I'm going to put it here and spray it. And then the nice thing about a felt tip applicator is you can bend it. So I'm going to bend it and stick it right on the lower lash line. That's what's nice about these felt tip applicators, is that they bend and form to the shape of whatever you're applying it over top of, and it's so good. Like, felt tip applicators are the bomb, you guys. For my inner corner, I'm going to go into the shade Moon Glow, the Skin Show Moon Glow, the first shade in the palette. I'm going to stick that right here on the inner corner. I'm going to go into the glitter one, the Astral Solstice. I'm going to spray it because it just looks better sprayed. Like, you feel like you have a little bit more control over that glitter. Yes. Okay, so let's move on to this eye. For the fourth look, I'm going to go into Vermilion Venom. I can't say that word to save my life. She's got pigment. I'm gonna go back in for another dip now that I got that blended and kind of deepen it. So it kind of turns into like a berry color when you deepen it. And now I'm gonna start kind of circling this around and bringing it on the outer corner right here. Now I'm going to take this brush, which is the Builder Pro, and I'm going to pack that on. I'm going to take that shade and pack it here on the outer corner. And I kind of want that shade to kind of turn into that mulberry. So I'm going to keep kind of packing it until I get that mulberry shade out here and then working it into the crease. But see how much depth that shade can give? Like, that shade is really pigmented, but it's also very controllable, you know, like you don't have to go in heavy-handed with it. And it just really, it blends really good and very easy. So now I'm gonna go into the shade Bronzy Clips. Oh, ho, 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 my God, so pretty. Yes, give me life. Kind of bringing it up into the crease. I'm switching back to this pencil brush. I'm gonna go into the Venom shade and kind of buff out that line. So I'm gonna go into the Moon Glow, which is the first shade in the palette. Oh yes, right there, right there, right there. Oh my gosh, yeah. Yes, please, I'll take it. Oh, yes, okay. I'm getting too excited. All right, I'm gonna wipe off this brush like nothing on it and kind of just buff that in to this gold. All right, I'm gonna take that shade and put it on the inner corner. I like that shade though. It's kind of got like a pink undertone to it. Okay, so I'm gonna put that right here. That shade that I just put on the inner corner all over the lid, all over that, like right here, and it would just be really pretty. I think I'm gonna try that. Yeah, I like this shade with that red more than I do the bronze. Oh, hot damn. That just brought it to a whole other level of craziness. I'm gonna bring it up on the brow bone. Okay, so this is the final look. The lippy that I chose for this look is the KKW Beauty Nude number 3, which is really kind of like a dark, brownish eggplant color. And then I put on the Charlotte Tilbury Glowing Gen, her new collection, and I put the shade Glowing Gen in the middle, and it matches this like to a perfection. I love both of these. Like, both of these are so beautiful. This purple eye is just so pretty. I mean, spraying that up into the crease like that and then putting that Astral Solstice over top is just absolutely stunning. And this eye is really, really beautiful. It has that maroon moment. You know, I've been able to create quite different looks with this palette. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and wipe this off one more time, and then I'm gonna do look number 5, which will be the final look. So I will see you guys then. Now I've wiped it off again. Here I am on my 3rd time, and 3rd time's the charm. This look, I'm just gonna do one look so that I only have one look on my eye during the intro. So this is actually gonna be my intro look. Let's go in with a brush like I have been, dry. See how this works. Just dry, no spraying it, just see what it does. So I'm gonna go into Blood Moon 005, spraying it, dry brush, and this is what we're getting, and it's actually really pretty. Now, this one is a little bit more textured as far as some of the, like compared to the other shades, this one's a little bit more textured, but it's very, very easy to apply. You're gonna have to kind of pack it on to get the intensity, but I'm already getting pretty good intensity with the shade just using my brush. I'm gonna kind of just bring the rest of this out. This is the Builder Pro from Sonia G, and I'm gonna go into Extreme Dusk. And I've packed quite a bit of this on the brush, and I'm gonna apply that. And I'm gonna apply this right here on this outer corner, kind of creating that V shape. It's kind of a charcoal gray color. It's not all the way black, but it has the ability to be black, if that makes sense. Like you could totally make it black if you want to. I'm gonna go into Vermilion Venom, and I'm gonna place that directly over top of that shade, just because I wanted the depth, which is why I applied the dark color first and then going over top of it with that red. So I'm gonna kind of start pushing that shadow into the crease, but kind of leaving it right here on this outer corner. I'm gonna dip in between Venom and Taboo and kind of apply that right here. And then take my blending brush and kind of buff it out. All right, so I'm gonna wipe off the brush. I'm gonna do the exact same thing. On the outer corner, I'm gonna start with the dark. So I'm gonna go into Extreme Dusk with a tiny bit right here. And I am going to place this right here, as tight to the lash line as I can get it. All right, now I'm gonna wipe that brush off, and then I'm gonna go into the red and kind of buff that into it. So I'm gonna go into Moon Glow. So I'm gonna spray it, and I'm gonna pop that right here on the inner corner. I'm gonna amplify it, and I'm gonna go into Solstice, that Astral Solstice, and kind of bring that glitter moment to it. Okay, so this is the final look. This is a really pretty look. I love how dark and kind of smoky this look is, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Now for the lip, I used the same one that I used in the first two looks. It's the KKW Beauty eyeliner in the shade Copper. I put that on my lip, blended it out, and then I took the Rust shade in the palette, which is called Blood Moon 005. And I gently patted it on the lip. You guys know I like to use a little bit of something, something on my lip. Let's go into that gold shade. I like to always take, look how pretty that shade is. I always like to take any kind of, ooh. I always like to take an eyeshadow and use it on my lips. So that's it for this look. Let's move on to the swatches of the palette, and then I will give you guys my final thoughts. Okay, let's get through the swatches first. These first two images are of the first row of the palette. I took one picture with a flash and one without. I do feel like it's important to take pictures with a flash so you can see the undertone and somewhat of the sparkle that's in some of these shades. These next two sets of images are at the bottom row, and again, if you see those matte shades, how shiny they turn on the skin. That's one thing that I love about her mattes, is they do give that shine, especially when they're on the lid. The one on the end is her magnificent glitter topper formula that is so finely milled that it's so easy to work with, and I love it. It's a really good shade. So these next sets of images are images that I took comparing it to some of the other palettes that I have in my collection. So the first sets of images are this palette compared to the Mothership V palette, which was the palette previous to this one. And I wanted to kind of go through that palette and find the similar shades and swatch it next to the similar shades in the Pat McGrath Mothership V palette. The next set of images is a comparison to some of the ABH palettes that I have. So the ABH Riviera and the ABH Jackie palette that was just launched. Okay, so the next set of images is comparing this palette to the Bronze Ambition palette. So let me go ahead and get into my final thoughts about this palette. I do feel like this palette is a little bit more dupable than the Mothership V palette. I feel like this palette is not all that special. It's great, and it has that good Pat McGrath quality when you buy her Mothership palette. Like, there's nothing wrong with the shades. I just feel like a lot of these shades are very dupeable. Now, of course, not her glitter formula, and that sometimes are duochromes. Some of them are duochromes, some of them are not, but her glitter formulas are off the charts. Like, I don't know that I've ever had any palette that gives me the same effect as her glitter formulas. So that's kind of what makes the Mothership palette special. She saves those textures for these palettes, and I understand why, because they are very, very brilliant, and that's not really dupeable, but the shades themselves are pretty dupeable. This palette is probably designed for those who are, 1, a Pat McGrath collector, 2, don't really mind spending the $125 on the palette, and 3, those who feel like the glitter duochrome formula is worth the money. This is a very beautiful palette. If it's something that you've been considering, I don't think that you're going to be regretting it, but I don't feel like this is a palette that you absolutely need in your collection, and I would never come on in here and tell you that you have to get a $125 palette, because before my channel I never got a $125 palette and I was happy as it could be. So whether you can afford it or not is irrelevant. Some people can afford it and they just don't want to do it, and I get it. So I'm going to leave that up to you guys, but if it is something that you guys decide to pick up, I don't feel like any of the shades I was disappointed in. I loved all the looks that I created, but I will say my favorite shade in the palette is this one right here. This is a jaw dropper. The way that it blends, look at this swatch. It is just stunning. I don't have anything like that in my collection. Absolutely nothing. For it being a glitter topper, there's nothing like it. I mean, look at that shine. It is unbelievable. It's so finely milled. That's what makes her formula so unique, is that she was able to create a shade like this with such vibrancy and like a wet look, but it's not thin. It's a very thick, it's a thicker formula, but it's not chunky. It's really finely milled, but you get instant pigmentation. A lot of these glitter toppers are really thin, and you know, you kind of have to pack them on. Not this one. This one, amazing. So that's it for today's video. I have been down here filming for probably about 8 hours, and it's gonna take me another couple hours to get this edited and up for you guys tomorrow. It's probably gonna be a 12-hour video. Maybe even 13, we'll see. So I hope that this video was helpful for you guys, and I hope that the 5 looks was fun for you. I hope you guys have a wonderful day filled with love and joy. I will see you guys in my next video, which by the way will be the new Natasha Denona expensive $129 palette, just FYI. So I will see you guys in that video, and I love you all so much. Bye.